When working with HDR images, there's times where you're going to need to take portions of the original image and remix it back in to get something that looks really, really good. Go into File, Automate. Let's go to Merge to HDR Pro. And what I'm going to do here is I want to select a folder. In your downloads, you have this folder called Temple, and it has a series of files already set up for you. We're going to go ahead and click on the OK button, and this is going to take a series of images that I have of a temple in upstate New York. So this is like one of the largest Buddhist temples. I think it's in the East Coast or in the US, but it's a big, big temple. And it's just about an hour north of New York City. I think it's maybe Croton, just north of Croton on Hudson. But here's our picture, right? And then what we're going to do is we'll click on Remove Ghosts. We have that set up. Now, once we have that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch over here to 16-bit. And we can go ahead and do any kind of changes that we want, right? So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and increase my radius, increase my strength, and kind of get it exactly that I would want to. Come down here, move your gamma. Now, let's say that, for example, I like what's happening here, right, in these things. Right, this looks okay, but I don't like what's happening on the sky section of it. Well, let's go ahead and save this preset, and we'll call this Temple CS6. Now, I'm going to click OK. This is going to create that HDR file that we want, but it's going to create an HDR file with dirty clouds, something that I don't necessarily think looks very good. What we're going to need to do now is go back to our exposure and get something that looks a little bit more realistic and bring that back in. And this is something that happens with clouds all the time. You can never really quite get, if you're shooting middle of the day stuff, you can never really quite get good stuff here and at the same time have good clouds. So what I'm going to do here is just go back to my desktop. I'm going to open up one of these regular exposures. Once I have that exposure set, I can take that image and move it over here using the move tool, holding down the shift key. And now watch. Good clouds, HDR. Good clouds, HDR. I'm going to take the good clouds and I'm going to hold down the Option key or the Alt key and then click on the mask. It's going to hide everything. At that point, I can go ahead and, using my white with a low flow on that mask, I'll come back in here and I'll brush in those clouds. So we can get some really, really nice clouds right in that element. And it's all about those details, right? Those details matter, right? If you look before, right, you see how you have that dirty area and you have that haloing there, you have that haloing there, there and there, right here. And now after, looks a lot cleaner. So those things I think make a lot of sense or work very, very well with HDR images. And all of those details, you know, really can bring out some really, really nice details and make your HDR file kind of stand out. I'm going to go ahead and just merged all of that stuff while I was talking, and I'm just going to go ahead and add just a quick curves adjustment. Again, same thing. Drop everything down, then invert. Use my brush with white again, and just kind of color these back in just a tiny bit. Bring that back in there. And now that I have that all set, I can go ahead and merge this back in. I probably could also try the adaptive wide angle, right? Because you notice that there was a bit of a bow on that. The adaptive wide angle should help with this. And what I'll do is I'll hold down the shift key and I'm going to click on this line right here. By doing that, straightens everything out. Click OK. And now what I'll do is I'll use my crop tool and holding down the Option and the shift, kind of bring it in, get myself right there. And now we're good to go.